And I would like to invite Sydney, to read for us the definition and the hymn of love from 1 Corinthians before we enter to see the Agora and after all what we have said already about Paul, expressing his love even.
So 1 Corinthians 13 says, "If I speak human or angelic tongues but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions and sacrifice my body to be burned but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not envy, is not boastful, is not arrogant, is not rude, is not self-seeking, is not irritable, and does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends, but as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, as I am fully known. Now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love."
Thank you. Thank you. I turn again to the reconstruction. You're sitting in front of the ruins of this little temple here. We enter to the Agora through the religious section. All these ruins you see on your right and your left are ruins of small temples where in front of the big temples like cathedrals. On the right hand side we have the Praetorium. All the way down is the administrative section. Down here is the Julia Basilica, which was the court of justice. And here on this side, in front of the temple of Apollo, there, including this arch, we have commercial section, we have shops. Now, I would like you to see the fence in front of the Praetorium, which divides the square in two parts and forms in front of the Praetorium a yard, the Praetorium yard, which was a military zone, because during the day when the Roman officers were working in their offices, their bodyguards were here guarding them. Now, the term Praetorium yard in the New Testament is mentioned once in Mark's Gospel when it's described the trial of Jesus Christ. And it said that only Jesus was brought in the yard of the Praetorium. The crowd stayed out, were out to the public section, to the public square, to the Agora. The bema for the Greeks and the Romans later was the grandstand of the officials. When we have public events in the square, the authorities were not scattered among the crowds, but they had their own prominent and special place to stand where the manifestation of the Roman authority was done, and from there they could watch what goes on and control the area. In Greek, the term bema, which describes the grandstand, literally means step. a big step, an imperial size step. In the most of the English translations of this term, the term is translated judgment seat. This is wrong and comes from another culture. If you have visited Israel and you have been in the city of Dan, there you have seen the judgment seat. The judgment seat is the seat of the king of Israel, which was at the gate of the city, actually outside of the city, yeah, and there he exercised his judicial authority. And this is Hebrew culture. Here we are in the Greco-Roman culture. And the Greco-Roman culture is kept and preserved today in many Western countries, like America. And we see every July 4th in Washington, D.C., a grandstand prepared for the American president. That is not a judgment seat. It is the place from where the American president can participate to the festivals and the honors of that day. I am sure that you have seen the American president in some rare cases from that grandstand to decorate prominent American citizens like war veterans or people prized with the Nobel Prize. The same thing happened in antiquity, with one difference. The American president is an elected American. Romans here, we are conquerors. And Romans, we are looking not for prominent citizens, but for collaborators. The collaborators were called by them benefactors, and in festivals and special public events, they were brought in front of the grandstand to be promoted as the model the Romans like the citizens to be. The people that were gathered in the square had to clap and to praise them, although they hated them. And actually they hated the collaborators more than the Romans. Yeah, but they were not allowed to reveal their negative feelings for them. In the case these negative feelings were revealed, regardless if the person was a criminal or not, was grabbed and was brought in front of the Romans, in front of the grand stand. And the city was gathered again to see how Romans treat their enemies. In front of the bema, we don't have the judge of the penal law. The court where we have the penal law executed, the question is, tell us about your crime. Tell us what have you done. In front of the bema, the question is totally different. Is tell us who you are. Show us your identity. Are you a friend or an enemy of the authority? And this is the way the people were divided in front of the bema. That brings to our mind actually the 25th chapter of Matthew's Gospel, when the king will sit on his throne and all the nations will be gathered in front of him, and he will divide them as the shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. This is a matter of identity. They are different animals. Different is the sheep from the goat. It's not the same animal. The question of the king is not who is the one who destroyed the vineyard or the olive grove, or no. The criterion there for this division is the criterion of love. I was thirsty, I was naked, I was in the prison, and that identifies them existentially, if they are goats or if they are sheep. Two totally different animals, having generally the same shape, but totally different behavior. So this is the bima, uh, and I would like us to go to see the bima there. Yeah, it's really important. I would like us to see also the upper reconstruction of the bima, which is recently open to the public. The bima is excavated since 1860s or something. Yeah, but open to the public only 10 years ago. So let's go to see this so important place.